recent alumni who was just given an award at graduation, an honorary degree. He was involved with the cleaning up of the Gulf with the oil spill, and had been our student. And he remembers, when he came back and talked to me, he remembers the class that he had taken, and this whole incident was brought to mind. It was a class in comparative government, and we studied many different European governments, and also some Brazil and South Africa. At the time that this course was on, there was a lot of interest in apartheid and South Africa. So I asked one of the embassies, the South African embassy people, to come and talk to my class. You know, after that first experience, you know, with Mayor Dawson, I figured that, you know, I can ask anybody to come, and they probably did. So anyway, this young man came and talked to the class about the whole problem of South Africa. Excellent. At the end of, you know, the discussion that went on, one of the students, one young girl, asked him, or somebody asked him, to speak to them in Afrikaner, which is the native language in South Africa, especially among the Dutch inhabitants. And he did. He you know, talked for a little bit, for about a minute or two, giving them a feeling for what the African Afrikaner message language sounded like. Out of the blue, one of the students raised her hand and started talking back to him in Afrikaner. The rest of us were just speechless. How could a West Virginia student be able to speak Afrikaner? Well, it seemed that she came from a high school, and I forget the state. It was either Maryland or New York or one of the eastern states. And in her high school, she had spent some time in Belgium on some kind of a overseas program. Many schools had it, not so many high schools, but many colleges. We had, for example, we had a program with our students going to Rome, for example. But anyway, in Belgium, the language is very similar to Afrikaner. And that's how she could understand him and talk back to him. So these were the kinds of things that happened. That there was one episode that was not so pleasant. This was during the time when the Shah of Iran was involved with his problems in his own country with opposition, the tremendous opposition on the part of many of the Iranian, especially the young people. And some of the Iranian students were going to school at West Virginia Institute of Technology down the river in Fayetteville. And, you know, because of the interest in the Shah and Iran and the contact and the difficulties with the United States, I asked a member of the Iranian embassy to come talk to us. And somebody from the State Department was coming, not just somebody from the Iranian embassy, as I remember. Well, the Iranian students at Tech heard about this and invaded the campus. They tried to stop the State Department person from speaking to the class. I had to take the class, and I took them somewhere in this building. I might have been here or one of the rooms in this building, so they couldn't find us. It drew a lot of publicity. A lot of the newspaper reporters came to the campus, and we had the security there, and oh, it was a wild time. So some of our episodes were not quite as pleasant as the South African incident, some of them, but they all led to greater learning and understanding on the part of the students, especially the political science students. We had many opportunities for our students to get involved with each other, because peer learning is very vital and important, as all the educational researchers point out to us. In other words, who you're in class with or who you associate with academically has an important impact on the learning that you might have. So we had a lot of opportunities for our students to meet with their peers. For example, we had a debating society that was extremely active. We had a wonderful choir. In fact, our choir used to go on trips for a week in the spring, not only across West Virginia, to Pittsburgh, to Philadelphia. It was very well known, wonderful college choir. There was a college band. There were many other kinds of organizations, nurses' organizations, a business club. I have a list of them here. So many that were the Art Guild. There was honors societies, Future Teachers of America, a very active student council. There were, in the 1950s, this is pretty early, in the 1950s, there were 4 men's fraternities and 4 women's sororities. And one of the great social projects that we had on campus in the spring was May Day. I was very thrilled with May Day because I had a little 3-year-old daughter who was a flower child in the May Day festival, where the May Queen was crowned and the May Court led a procession, and there was a competitive May Day sing and a May Day dance and wonderful welcoming of spring on our campus. And that was always loads of fun. Another very interesting experience that I had as a political science professor here was participating with Harry Brawley on what is known as Radio Classroom. Now, this was unique. We even got national publicity for doing this. We would conduct a class on the radio. This is before television. Conduct a class on the radio, meet once a week, and Harry Brawley and I would talk about the political science course that we were teaching. The students would meet 3 times during the semester on the campus, where there could be discussion and any questions, and also tests. And so we did this for quite a few years, and it was very popular, and we enjoyed that experience also. I suppose that you have some questions you want to ask me. I'm sorry I took so long in
oh, no, it's wonderful.
talking about these experiences, but it was such a pleasure. Also, to have many great debaters and national figures come to. We had Danforth lecturers on philosophy, on science, on all kinds of subjects come to the campus. We regularly had these outstanding national figures come. And of course, in recent years, we had John Kennedy debating Hubert Humphrey in our auditorium. There was something that very few people knew about that debate. It was a very popular debate. The students just so enjoyed seeing John Kennedy and Hubert Humphrey in person and listening to them and debating together. During the time that Kennedy and Humphrey were canvassing the voters and so on and trying to win support for their political campaign within the state, Hubert Humphrey lived in the old hotel on Capitol Street. The name just escapes me. Or the Ruffner Hotel. And he had an old bus that had all his slogans on it. He always parked it in front of the Ruffner Hotel. When the election was held and Humphrey lost, the police in Charleston put a ticket on his bus. Now, I thought that, I was supporting Humphrey at the time. I thought that that was a pretty mean thing to do. But recently we've had President Obama and other powerful political figures. Many of our political science clubs would always host have candidates meetings on campus, where and we even conducted technically little voting procedures so our students would know how voting machines worked and how elections were carried on. So all of these things were very vital and full of fun and interesting and exciting for our students.
Professor Harris, Robert Byrd once said, and he probably said this many times, that you were the most inspiring professor that he had ever had, and he said to contact him when you were in the D.C. area, and you were visiting a former student by the name of Gordon Berlin, and you contacted Byrd, and he invited you to President Ford's State of the Union speech.
That's right. Gordon Berlin was one of my very excellent students and has always been supportive of Mars Harvey and University of Charleston. We attended that Ford presentation, and it was very, very much a great experience. In fact, I've gone to, one time I had a student who was on this Washington internship experience, and I would always go sometime this semester to check on them. And I would go to Washington and see how they were doing and talk with them and so on. And I remember once I went to Washington to check on a student, and I attended I was invited to attend a session with our West Virginia representative in the White House. He was giving a briefing, and I attended. And I had all of my papers and books and things with me in a book bag, which I had put. You have to put it, outside of any room in the White House when you're going in, and they search you to be sure you don't have a gun or something. And when I left, I forgot my briefcase, and it was sitting in the White House. So I had to go back, and it was real interesting. All I had to do, I had to know exactly where it was, and someone went there to be sure, and that's how I got my. One other time, when I went to see Senator Byrd, he invited many of the other senators to come with me to a luncheon, and he was always so helpful and supportive of our school, the students, and naturally West Virginia government.
Right. I'm going to throw another name at you, Professor Harris, and this is from a quote. In all my years of teaching, I have had only one student who argued with me as vociferously as you did, you're referring to Robert Byrd, and if you do as well in your life as he did, you will do well indeed. And that was Bill Bowling.
Oh, Bill Bowling, yes.
Who's now the Lieutenant Governor of Commonwealth of Virginia.
Of Virginia, yes. He was, the problem with Bill was he was of a different political party. And that was one of the reasons why we had such great fun, which was also true of a young man who's now working here. What's his name?
Ben Beeks.
Pardon?
Is it Ben Beeks?
Ben Beeks, yes, who worked in the Secretary of State's office, yes, yes. But I always said that what is most important for a student in a class to concern themselves with supporting their own point of view and express that point of view. So we always encourage as much discussion and debate as possible.